You can sing higher than you think you can. And without having met you, I can say that with almost 100% certainty. Welcome back to Singing Tips with LJDstudios, the space where we take difficult singing concepts and break them down so you can actually understand and implement them for better singing. I'm Laura, and today we are talking about how to sing higher. But before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you haven't already, download my free guide, The 3-Tiered Approach to Becoming a Better Singer, linked in the description. Okay, so what's the deal? Why am I so certain that you can sing higher than you think you can? Because high notes, I'm gonna be real with you, aren't that hard. They're not. But what's hard, well, I'm being sort of snarky about it. They can't be hard. It depends on the style you're trying to sing in. But I think that what is initially challenging about high singing is just learning how to access a part of your voice that you have maybe never been in. We spend most of our time in our speaking voices, and our speaking voices in some ways do translate to our singing voices, and in other ways do not. So for a lot of people, learning how to sing higher is really just about learning how to access a different part of your voice that you've never been in. But once you learn how to access it, here's the great thing, like you've never even been up there, so you don't have any bad habits up there yet, like you might in other parts of your voice. So high singing is actually not that hard once somebody shows you how to get into this other part of your voice. So let's get into it. Okay, so I said high singing may or may not be hard depending on like the way you're approaching the high notes, and it's true. Like the style that you're trying to sing in will dictate how difficult some of those high notes are. I think personally, belting a high note is a lot harder than singing a high note in a lighter head voice style. So it does depend on the style, but just point blank, like dollar for dollar, you're just trying to get up to a higher pitch and have it like sound somewhat nice. It's not as hard as you think it is. It's just about understanding a little concept called registration and how to access these different registers in your voice. So I have done another video on registration, but here's an analogy that I really like. I think of the voice like a house with many rooms, right? And my job as a teacher is just to kind of show you how to get into these different rooms and give you some ideas for how to furnish the rooms, etc. And then you ultimately get to decide like which rooms you want to hang out in, okay? You as an individual have probably spent most of your vocal life, and I don't mean just singing, I mean like speaking and anything else you might be using your voice for. You have probably spent most of your vocal life predominantly in one room, which is the speaking room, right? And then you've probably like dabbled in other rooms like the yelling room or the screaming room or the crying room or whatever, right? All these require different engagement of the musculature of the voice and different breath energy, etc. So all of these are different rooms because they require different functions of the vocal anatomy. But suffice it to say, I think the vast majority of us spend the vast majority of our time in the speaking room of our vocal house, okay? So if you've never left that room, high notes might feel really challenging because the speaking room is really related to what we might call chest voice in terms of registration. Now, if you are going to sing in a more contemporary style of singing, which means like pop, rock, maybe more modern musical theater, things like that, you are going to learn how to take your chest voice or your speaking voice up higher. And I do actually think that that can be quite challenging. So just know that. However, if you want to, again, just like dollar for dollar, learn how to sing a higher note, you got to leave your speaking room. And we want to get into, or the chest voice room, and we want to get into the head voice room. And the head voice room is not where like any of us speak, except for our, you know who Julia Child was? She kind of was. She talked like this, right? But most of us do not talk like this, right? It's kind of this like very like round, lofty kind of thing, right? So you might be feeling like you have an end cap to where you can sing. However, if you were, that's probably because you're staying in your speaking voice room. And so you're going, I can't go any higher, but this is still my speaking voice. But if I go, ooh, and I get out of my speaking voice, right? And into this, what I might call my singing voice or your head voice or whatever you want to call it, right? Into this other room, and it feels like way different, right? Now, suddenly you're going to find like there is a much wider range of pitches available to you. So that's it, right? Like if you really have this perception, like that I have a low voice or whatever, I dare you to ask yourself the question, am I staying in my speaking room or my chest voice room, or just chest voice, I can quit with this analogy now. Am I staying in chest voice, right, and trying to take it up higher? And might I be able to access some of these higher pitches if I were willing to move into a different register, into head voice, into this different space that I've never been in before, right? So I do have a whole entire video on how to sing in head voice, which I will link in the description, but that's what you want to look into, right? If like you're, especially if you're a beginning singer and all this is kind of new to you, look into that because you know, there are different ways of accessing higher notes. And you, again, you can take your speaking voice, your chest voice up a lot higher. I do think that requires a lot more strategy. And I'm trying to keep it simple for you. I'm just saying, I guarantee if you want to just hit that pitch, you can do it. I bet you, if you explore this other register. So check it out and let me know if you have questions. Happy singing.